When did you first go to the Solomons?
I went in 1984, at the beginning of 1984.
And what were the friaries at that time?
There was Patterson House, and there was Alangaula, where the novices were, 18 hours by boat from Honiara, and there was a house being built on Ugi, in the provincial capital, Ugi, which is the largest island in the Solomons.
Yeah. How many brothers were there then?
Without looking at the list, there must have been 7 or 8 at Honiara, and probably 4 or 5 in Ugi. And then at Alangaula, because it was the novice house, it varied a great deal. And there was Brother Francis, Brother Liam from England, and then there were 3 or 4 professed brothers, and then there were some novices, and that was Alangaula. That was the only houses we had.
So it was very small then, and so Alangaula became a difficult place.
When I arrived in Solomon Islands, the first thing Brother Geoffrey said to me was, when you get to Alangaula, you see that we have to move. And it was logistically an impossible place to live. Now, you then ask the question, why were they there?
Yes.
And this goes back to the history of the SSF in the Solomons. The brothers first arrived in 1970, and sometime after that the church handed over all its schools to the government to come into the national education system. And so when the education people were looking at this, they were surplus buildings, and the church very sensibly took some of these buildings, which they'd built anyway, and used them as rural training centres, and we were given Alangaula. Well, not given, but we were for our use. This has a great deal to do with Brother Michael Davis and his thinking.
Right.
But Alangaula was a good place to be if you could get there. And when the church had run not only schools around on the different islands and clinics, but also it had plantations. And so it needed a ship to go around and collect the produce, and to move people, to move students, to where this. At next door to Alangaula was Pawa Secondary School. That had been an Anglican school, and that was handed over. And Alangaula had been a junior school, primary, and that had been a farm, there'd been lots of cattle there, and people like the Archbishop Norman Palmer had been the headmaster there.
Yes, yes. So it had the problem of being isolated.
Yeah, because this mission stopped sending the ships.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you could order a ship or find out when it was coming nearby.
Yes.
And try and get people to to divert and come and pick you up. But on the early days, apparently it'd be much easier. We had to get from Alangaula to Honiara, you had to either go by ship from a mission ship or private ship, cargo ship, that came into Selwyn Bay, where the school was, a lovely place, perfect anchorage. So the boats would either come in, you'd get on board, or you'd have to go by canoe to Kirikira.
Kirikira, yeah.
And that was quite a dangerous journey at certain times. And they weren't, we didn't have a canoe, we didn't have an engine. What we had was a tank of petrol.
Yes.
So we would provide the petrol. Fortunately, the headmaster at the Palmer School, Meadows, was a brother of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
And anyway, so he had a canoe which belonged to the school, and he very kindly would come and pick us up. You arranged it to send a runner the day before to find out when the canoe's going, and then he would very often take us in the canoe. They'd have their business, banking and having to buy groceries in all the stores and stuff. So when you got to Kirikiri, you could then fly. That was a great thing. You could fly to Honiara.
Yes.
But of course it was expensive.
Expensive. Otherwise you had to wait for the boat.
You had to wait for the boat.
Yes, yes.
We had a bus stop on the beach at Alangaula, a little place where you could sit, because we got news on the radio that the Southern Cross was coming to Alangaula, then people start getting ready for it. The thing was, if the Southern Cross was coming to Alangaula, you could hear its engine about an hour and a half before it arrived. So you didn't need to get in a panic. Just we had the bus stop because people they didn't sit by the beach anyway, and it was a useful place. And
yes.
Francis particularly, if he was going to Honiara on the ship, after Mass and everything in the morning, he'd go and sit there and wait. And maybe 6-7 hours sometimes. I mean, you couldn't tell.
No. Yeah.
So I remember some fairly dicey journeys, because the problem with Ugi, between Ugi and Makira, you get a current, and it's all right going down on it, but it's not so good coming back. And if you had choppy wind, which we did very often, you had choppy seas. If you, one of the peculiar things I did was go to Honiara to Kirikiri to do the shopping, and when I came back, then we came in the canoe to go back to Alangaula, and we stopped in at a place, can't think of the name now, but two of the brothers had gone there to get stones, and they had bags, and they went and collected stones from the riverbed, because there was no stone on Alangaula. Ugi was a uplifted coral reef.
Okay.
And you could see the coral up on top of the hills. Great chunks of coral. And so that if you, for your muumuu, you had to go and get
the river stones. Yeah.
These brothers had these bags of stones, and we put them in the canoe, and the freeboard was getting about that.
Yes. So you decided to have to find somewhere else, and I think then by this stage you were the only expat brother left in the Solomons, weren't you? Because
yes, Geoffrey Leonard was still there.
right.
And I mean, I wasn't in the initial planning at all. I mean, they'd done the talking about where the house might be, and they'd come to the conclusion that Auki was a good place to go. But it later turned out not to be so much a good idea. And the brothers, we built the house at Auki, which is still there.
Yeah.
So that was good. We had a place for brothers to go and do ministry. And also in Honiara they were working at the St. Nicholas Centre, which Geoffrey Leonard ran, which produced prayer books and radio programs and various things to send round. So they were doing a good job there.
Yeah.
And then there was Patson House. And then there was Alangaula. So when I got there, there was a hole which had Alangaula written on it.
Yes.
Or
yes.
not that, novice training.
Yeah. Yes.
And we had to work out where. I was responsible for the decision to stay on Guadalcanal, but because the brothers were very helpful in, for example, when we explored this land above Auki, they'd come, we'd go, we went up and talked to the landowners and all that, and so that was helpful. And I mean, doing any negotiation with the local people had to be done. Well, it was done by the white man because the white man was the sort of administrator. But you had to do it with the brothers because they could speak the language.
Yes.
And it was a funny business. I mean, the day that we found Hautambu was interesting. I mean, because I'd been going from Alangaula to Honiara and then back again, not often, but there was nobody to run Alangaula, so I had to do that.
Yeah.
And I got into Honiara, and then that day I think the head brother Moses came to me and said, "Have you been to Hautambu?" And I said, "No, what's Hautambu?" He said, "Oh, it's an old station, mission station. I'll take you there." So he ordered up the brother's truck, and we got in the truck, and we drove 35 miles up the road. There wasn't much of a road in those days.
It's not much of a road now, either.
And arrived at this overgrown copra plantation, and the fine copra, the coconut palms were fine, and people were harvesting the coconuts, but sort of unofficially.
Yes.
I mean, if you're a local villager, they just had falling off the trees.
Yeah.
I mean, the other problem, of course, was that your boundaries were never clearly defined.
Yeah.
And you can, in fact, I don't think we've ever had a signed document to say that we don't own Alangaula. Not in the way that we own other land.
Yeah.
which we bought, and you've got paperwork. And so we drove along, and we ended up, and there was, I mean, it was very difficult in a way to get, it's overgrown, but there was a path, we went up onto the ridge, and there was nice fresh air, there was nice views.
Yes.
I mean, it seemed a nice place. And then we looked for water. I mean, there's always something going to be missing. But that was something we had to take into account. But you were always going to have a problem with water, wherever you were. I mean, Alangaula, I mean, we never had much water there. We had a stream,
yes,
which ran through the friary, and you could, I mean, when you had your daily wash, you went not in the shower, you went in the river.
Yeah, yeah.
And the same thing had happened at Hautambu. There was a nice river.
Yes.
In those days when we went there was a nice river, but it's all got
Muddied up, yes. So, so there you were. You found the land, and then you decided to move there.
We decided, yes. I mean, we got permission from we talked it all through with the diocese, and they were very helpful in arranging transport. Because, I mean, we had nothing, we had no money, we had hardly any tools. What we concentrated on was dismantling as much of the property at Alangaula as possible. In other words, to ransack the place. But knowing that the village people, the island people, had said they would like it so they could turn it into a youth centre. Well, I mean, that was fine. That was up to, I mean, Alangaula belonged to the church. And we negotiated what we would take and what they would have. For example, the chapel, was, there wasn't much you could take from it. It was just priest blocks. And there was the library building. The most useful buildings we had were the dormitories, which we've been using as dormitories and classrooms and things. Yeah. Because you had a run, and you had a set of steel frames, and the refectory at Hautambu that's the dormitories buildings.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
I mean, they must have been there. This is 1980, from the end of the war. And of course, you had rust damage and stuff, but we salvaged a lot of stuff from Alangaula. We had a small plantation of teak trees which we cut down, and which saved our bacon. By when we came to move from Alangaula, we arranged with the ship to come a certain day and pick us up, and so everything was prepared. The corrugated iron, books in boxes, timber, the roof, anything.
Yes, yeah.
And when the boat came, and then we had to load it, but there was a cyclone around. And I mean, we were loading, there wasn't a wharf or a jetty, you were loading from the beach in the little dinghies. Yes, yeah. They got this stuff onto the Southern Cross, and in the we didn't all go at that time. Some of the brothers stayed at Alangaula and went on working on other buildings. But we had the core stuff on the Southern Cross, And we set sail in the pitch black, dark, wind, the ship bobbing up and down, and we were all exhausted, so we slept. I think most of us were sleeping, about 5 of us, 6 of us, in the bishop's quarters, and I was on the bishop's bed. And suddenly in the night, we were all thrown out of bed. I was thrown out of bed. The brothers on the floor were thrown down into the corner. And there'd been a double wave, one of these dangerous waves that you get in the Pacific, which had hit the Southern Cross twice broadside. And the crew said it would have sunk if they hadn't had the ballast that we'd provided.
Oh yes, yeah.
So we had a nice voyage. I mean, it was to Honiara.
Yeah.
Then we had to get it all off and stack it, and then get a truck, hire a truck, and I was doing all this, but one was doing it out of common sense, and people were very helpful, and the brothers were very patient, and we moved up to Hautambu. But we didn't start. We couldn't live there at Hautambu, so we had an arrangement with the local village, Maravova, which had long associations with that place and with the brothers. And the school at Maravova, people like Andrew Manu and Clifton Henry had been to school there, and they knew the people and the language and everything. So we had accommodation in Maravova village, and we used to walk to the friary every morning and walk back in the evening. It was about 40 minutes walk. The people at Maravova were very kind. It was good for us to mix with them and get to know them, because they were our nearest village. So we used to go back and forth, and the first, I suppose there were about 6 or 7 of us living there. We were able to move from Maravova into an old school at Maravova, the old school, the sort of junior school, and they had some dormitories there, and the senior priest said we could use them. So that saved a terrific walk every day, and it means we could put our stuff together. At one time I asked one of the brothers, he said, I said, what are we going to do with all this timber and stuff we've got? How are we going to stop it being stolen? And this brother said, he was a local man, he said, you don't have any problem, brother, there won't be any stealing. I said, why not? He said, because it's holy. And all you have to do is walk round this house 3 times, and nobody will dare cross the line. I didn't know if that was true or not, but I suspected it was.
It worked okay.
Worked okay. So our job at that time was clearing the road from the back up to the site, doing some gardening, looking for land and doing some gardening, and the preparation of the site. The thing was, we didn't have any money at that stage, and it was, the remarkable thing about that project, if to look at it in Christian terms, is that God blessed us with what was necessary to build what we built. And those people who know Hautambu know it's a beautiful place, but it's not extravagant. There's nothing there that is unnecessary, and it's kept to the right sort of proportions. Our job then was to prepare the site where the guest houses are now. Those three small houses on this when you walk up, and they were our first endeavour. Partly because we had the teak for the posts and other timber, and there wasn't very much that we brought from Alangaula, but there was enough to do the basics of that. When we finished building the guest houses, we had to set up and begin work on the main site, where the dormitories and the lecture rooms and the refectory and chapel. So we had to get more workmen, and Drummond very kindly, he used to bring in his one-talks. They worked as a gang of labourers and carpenters, so it was a very good thing. And so they did the skilled work, and we did the dirty work. The buildings at Hautambu, when you look at them, don't appear to be raised up, but they're raised up. The lowest bit is about 2 feet or 3 feet from the corner up, and then it's all built on steel pipes, which we had made to measure. And the exciting day was the day we put up the back of where the dormitory, where the bedrooms are. There's a gap and then the hill. And when we put that up, that was 72 feet long. The timber, the form that we'd made, going from one end of that building to the other, 72, which is quite a long way. And we had to stand there holding it while Drummond put the bits in the ground, into the floor. It was a very interesting experience building, and it was very good training for the brothers. And we, when we had money and we were able to think of doing a bit more, then we did a bit more. But we never stopped work actually for about 18 months.
The standalone building that's a bit down below the others, that was built later, was it?
Little Portion. You mean the farm?
Oh no, not there. No, just it's just below. You know, there's the main buildings around the cloister, and then there's another one just down below, just a few metres below.
Yes. That building we built because we didn't have enough bedrooms, and we built it as a house for the professed brothers, and it had a facility for table. It's got a big enough room to have a meeting, and it was nice. It was a very interesting building. I don't know if it's still standing.
It's still standing.
And it's amazing, it's on that steel truck. But it was that was what it was for. It was to release, and there wasn't any fat. We dug the hill out. We had to dig the hill. We did that at night by the light of the silvery moon, because it was too hot in the daytime to be hacking away. And we also, when we were building the chapel, we had the site of the chapel and all ready to put the cement in, the concrete, to do the floor. And we had to do that. We did that in the night as well, because it's the same reason. And actually, for a cement floor, you get a better result if you do it in the cool. So that was interesting. I spent the whole night driving a gang of shrieking boys, big boys, from Maravogo in our truck to a place a bit nearer down the road towards Honiara, where the road people had heaped up a great big heap of gravel for the road repairs, but they'd never paid the man whose land it was on. And I discovered this, the people come and tell you something. If you're looking for gravel, brother, why don't you go and ask? So I went and talked with him, and he sold it all to us. And to have a heap of gravel, so we went backwards and forwards all night, because we had to mix it as well. And then we did the dining room at the same time. And
so the gravel was all mixed by hand?
Everything's mixed by hand, yes. We'd actually hired a cement mixer on wheels, a small truck, but it didn't work when it got to Hautambu. One of my more interesting things, if you go into the refectory, there's a bar, nice blue tobacco. One day we were doing that building and I was in Honiara one day driving along, and then or walking along, and I saw this notice outside the shops at a cafe, restaurant place, saying it was being sold and things. And I went in and there was the bar. So I bought it.
That's where it was from.
And it was a very good thing, because it makes that end of the thing interesting, and when you want something interesting. And all sorts of things like that we did that helped us do the building. The building didn't stop for a long time, because when we stopped building the friary, Hautambu, we moved down the hill to a little portion, which is a nice place to live. And
so, if you were doing a building project like that, what advice would you have to anyone who was considering a major building project like that?
Well, we never thought of it as a major building project. I think because we didn't have £500,000 to spend. I mean, when I went to Zimbabwe, I had a cheque for £50,000 in Royal Scots Bank. Well, I mean, Jonathan was looking after it, but it didn't work that way. The development fund hadn't started. Well, the development fund may just have started, but there was no. If you wanted money for a building project, you had to talk the Minister General or the Minister. I mean, you sweet talk them. And
yes, I think it was in Brian's day that things were beginning to change.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it was corrupt in a way, because it meant that Michael, or whoever it was, gave permission and money was sent. And we were very glad of the money when it came, but it was all, you never knew when it was going to come.
So you just started putting up buildings and trusted that you'd be able to do what you needed as you could.
Yeah, well, yes, we had. Yeah. I mean, we had the proper planner.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? That's the plan.
So,
in which the Swedish man whose wife was working for SIL, and he was an architect, and we had to go to the planning, and in a bit of a hurry. So we talked with him. In sort of plan I did these. I was going to be like a village and have more houses. But he pointed out that was a bit of a waste of room and waste of money. And so, we designed the thing accordingly. And so it worked all right. There's that's the so this is how we've started here with the guest houses, and this is doing those two. We did those before the dormitories because you can sleep anywhere, and so we built they're very simple buildings. The chapel, not the chapel, that was the library, and that one was the classroom. And we slept in them, but till we had enough room. And then that was the workshop. The workshop is built out of scrap material from Selwyn College, from a cyclone, when it was blown down. And I went round, the church office said you can go, and there's a list of things which you can get from the college, and what you can't take and what you can take. And I went round, and in the wild corner with brambles and all stuff was a strange looking building. And when I asked what it was, they said, it's the copper tower. And the copper tower was there, and then this other building. And I said, this looks interesting, because we were great into dismantling, and so we dismantled it, and it had all these pipes, and that went into the workshop, which is an interesting building.
It is, yeah.
And very useful.
Yeah.
And when they're doing work in the night, partying.
Yeah.
So it's all a bit like that. And then we built the toilets. It's very nice to be with Brother Christopher and to talk with him about Hautambu and the Solomon Islands and the brothers and the work we did and how the place developed. And what I would like to say is this: thank you to all those people who worked really hard over the years to do building work and training work and to bring the province up to what it is today. It's 34 years since I went out, and it's nearly 20 years since I came back, so I did pay a visit in 2009, but my health isn't going to allow me to visit again, which is a great loss. I just ask God to bless you, and you to pray to God that whatever you do as a brother or as a community, you do thoughtfully and lovingly, patiently, and love one another. That's what St. Paul tells us to do.